Okay, so section 4.2, exercise 64. And in this, we're asked to use the midpoint rule with n equals 4. We're given a function f of x is cosine of x. And we're asked to look at this on the interval from 0 to pi over 2. And so if we look at this graph, it starts here at 1, heads down. It looks like, actually I think our last problem looked a lot like this. But this is at pi over 2, not 1. And it says 4 spots, so there will be here at this. And so each of these lengths, we have delta x is pi over 2 minus 0 over 4, which is pi over 8. Okay, so this starts at 0 and then is pi over 8, and then 2 pi over 8, 3 pi over 8, and then 4 pi over 8, or pi over 2. So we have that. And what they want us to do is use the midpoint rule. Okay, so the midpoint rule is just asking, okay, for our function value, find that function value in the middle here of each of these. Okay, so we have our 4, and so I want the sum from j equals 1 to 4. And I know my delta x is pi over 8, so I've got that out here. Now I just need to fill in my function. Well, the function is just cosine. Okay, so cosine of, but now I have to figure out, okay, what are these points? You know, what is that actually? And well, midpoint here, and there are a couple different ways to go about writing this down. You know, one way is the midpoint is just the average of these two things. So I could take, if j is starting at 1, I could take j times pi plus j minus 1 times pi, each of these over 8, and divide by 2. Right? That's the average of those two things for j equal, say, 1 and 0, or j equal 2 and 1. And so we would get that. But now I can actually, you know, so I could put that all in there, but I can simplify this a little bit because that's just 2j minus 1, right? So that's 2j minus 1 times pi, and then that's all over 16 because it's over 8 and then divided by 2 again. So I can simplify, that a little bit that way, but to get that midpoint, you know, that's one way to get the midpoint of something. Let's see. And I guess that's, you know, I was looking back at the text and what they do, and yeah, they do the same thing. They just take those 2 points and take their average that way. So that's what we get when we simplify it. So we have 2j minus 1 times pi over 16. And so I'll go to Desmos and evaluate what the heck that actually is. So get rid of a bunch of stuff here. Okay, whoops, got rid of the sum. Oh well, we'll get rid of that. Functions, sum, and it automatically puts an n. Fine, I can go with an n. And we're going to go from 1 up here to 4. And then we need a cosine. So we go back to functions and trig cosine. And then it was cosine of 2j, so now we'll use 2n. So 2 n. And then it was, I believe, minus 1. We can go back and check that. Now, so we had the 2n minus 1, but it was over 16, I think. And so I need to get another parenthesis in here. And there's a parenthesis, and then divided by 16. And then it was times pi over 8. All right, so I'll put a parenthesis and do pi divided by 8. And close parenthesis. And I think that's right. So we'll go back here and check. So 2 times our variable, so j or n or whatever, so 2 or index, 2 times n minus 1 over 16, and then a pi over 8 for our, let's see, so 2j or n minus 1 times, oh, did I get the pi in there? Times pi over 16 and then pi over 8. So let's make sure I got the pi in there. I did not. So up here I need a pi right there. And there we go. And according to that we get 1.0064, so about 1. So 1.006. I guess I can go back here and write that in. So 1.006, and then I think it was a 4. But that's what we get for our midpoint rule. Okay? Now, and in this case, the midpoint rule should be between the left hand and the right hand sums because, right, if I take the left hand, that should be too big. And if I take the right hand, you know, in here, that should be too small. And so if I do a left hand or a right hand, it just changes what's inside the cosine. It should be our n times pi over 8. So let's go check that. Okay, so we'll do n times pi, so we want to get rid of some of this stuff here. There, so we need an n. N times pi, and get rid of that, get rid of that, make that an 8. Okay, and now we have to be careful. Do I have the right indices? Right. This was I don't remember now. Did I say left hand or right hand first? I don't think I said. So right now it's taken as 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, in there those. And so that's the right hand, and the right hand is too small, and indeed we got a number that was smaller. Okay, so right hand, midpoint, and then left hand, and we should see this in this case because the function's decreasing. And so for the midpoint, we have our 1.0064. Right hand, again, we just got 0.79. So I think I might be able to remember that. So 0.79, now let's get the left hand, 0. And, oops, that's not quite right. This is difficult. There we go. 3. And so we had 0.79 and 1.18. So 0.79 and 1.18. And so there you go. That is the right hand rule. The left hand rule and the midpoint is in between. And again, I knew it would be in between because the function is decreasing. And so the right hand rule will be too small. The left hand rule too big, it's up here. And the midpoint rule somewhere in the middle of each of those. Okay, so number 64.